is Kai Allen entering Supercars in the best position to find early success? And are you looking forward to watching him team up with Matt Payne?
I definitely have to say this. Penrite Racing has one of the most exciting driver lineups heading into next year. Matt Payne has really been setting the world on fire, just a couple of years into his full-time Supercars career. I think Kyle Allen is another driver who can really be a standout and be a star in this series. And I remember at the end of last season when it was announced that Shane Van Gisbergen was leaving the series, and then you had Scott McLaughlin leave the series a couple of years before that. We're wondering, with all the best drivers leaving, then Will Brown and Cam Waters, flirting with, doing other things outside of Supercars. People are wondering where all the best Supercars drivers just going to end up leaving and going racing overseas. And we're wondering if the series is going to have an identity crisis of who's going to be the face of the series now. Look at Kai Allen. Look at Matt Payne. There you go. I think those two drivers could potentially end up being the face of the series at some point. They certainly have the talent behind them. And I feel like Penrite Racing has really knocked it right out of the ballpark with this driver lineup for 2025. It's unfortunate, Richie Stanwell only got one season in this car, but when a driver like Kai Allen becomes available, you take it. And I think they did the right thing by going after Kai Allen and getting this extremely talented driver to join their organization. And you're obviously not going to let go of Matt Payne because he's also another great young driver to build around. And I think Kai Allen did the smart thing. I know we're going to talk about, the team that he's been racing under in the last couple of years or so, but I think Allen thought about himself and his future when he made this move to sign with Penrite Racing over Dick Johnson Racing. We'll talk about in the next part of this segment. But like Allen said in the press release, he said that Penrite Racing is a team on the way up. And I would rather join a team who's on the way up versus a team who's been on the way down in recent years and just can't seem to find its way back towards the top. But there's a lot of excitement right now at the Penrite Grove camp. So I think Kai Allen is really putting himself in the best possible position to find some early success in his Supercars career.
Go back to a line I used in the previous segment about Conor Zilich. If you've not heard much about Kai Allen, you're probably about to. Super 2 champion last year, leading the points this year, as you mentioned, Josh. He was a Super 3 champion the year before, so he is really on the rise. That was a last round dramatic championship decider, Adelaide, to get him that championship. Won last year at a cruise, and he's cruising, it seems, towards this year's championship. We'll talk about DJR in a minute, but he had the option on him expired to pick up his contract to drive for them for the big team next year. And well done to Brenton and Stephen Grove for getting in the door there and getting Kai Allen signed, sealed and delivered before any other team could have a sniff at trying to get him. So this is really big news for them. Great to see another young guy coming through. As Kobe mentioned, we had that discussion before about Whincup retiring, Winterbottom and Reynolds and those kind of guys at the end of their towards the end of their careers. James Courtney's going to retire at the end of next year. That we talked about that on the show a couple of weeks ago. Shane Van Gisbergen gone, McLaughlin gone, Whincup gone. Now we're going to get the next wave. Matt Payne won his first race at the end of last year at Adelaide, the final race of the season. He's won again this year already. He's blown Richie Stanaway, his, in air quotes, much more experienced teammate, out of the water this year, and a Bathurst 1000 winner in Stanaway indeed. And here comes Kai Allen to come and boost that team. It's really been a great story down there at Grove Racing for them to get these two young guys in, mould the team around them, or they will do going forward, of course, when Allen joins at the end of the season. And he was one of the big silly season Supercars subjects, but that one's now off the table with this signature with the Groves and Penrite Racing. Really good to see, again, another young kid going places in a hurry. And looking forward to seeing how he gets on once the new season comes. Plenty of Supercars racing still to come this year, but looking forward to seeing how he goes in that team next year up against someone that we know very well is quick, and that is Matt Payne. Adam says, Penrite Racing has a Grand Slam, two incredible young drivers. I'm trying to remember, Adam will obviously back me up on this with his supercar knowledge as well, another team that's had these two young guys that we know are fast and potential race winners, and obviously Payne has already won, on their books as a two-car team. I'm struggling to think of one like this that we've had for a good 10 or 12 years with two really fast young guys coming through. So it's going to be really exciting to see how they get on.
Yeah, now we've got to do it, haven't we? Let's address the elephant in the room, of course, because Alan's decision to sign with Penrite Racing was a surprise because he has got very close ties, of course, with Dick Johnson Racing. Now, Alan made his Supercars debut last year during the Bathurst 1000 in a wildcard entry from DJR. He was co-driving that one with Simona Di Silvestro. Now, after he wasn't able to get a full-time ride in Supercars for 2024 to go along with another year of Super 2 competition, DJR offered Alan a co-driver role for the number 17 Ford with Will Davison for the Enduros, Sandown 500, and of course the Bathurst 1000 later on this year. However, DJR hasn't announced their 2025 driver lineup yet as they ponder the futures of Davison and Anton De Pasquale as well. So many assumed one of those drivers would likely be out. Then Alan would drive one of their Shell V-powered Fords. However, Penrite swooped in and snatched away the exciting young prospect from DJR. So with DJR not being the same dominant team they were for several years ago, choosing Penrite gives Alan a little bit of a chance to run up front, contend for podiums, maybe fight for wins occasionally. The Supercars website labeled this as the significant coup as well. So, Matt, I'm going to start with you on this one. Would you agree that assessment is accurate? And was this a missed opportunity by Dick Johnson Racing to lock down a young driver that could be a future star in Supercars?
Yeah, it's interesting that they've let him slip through their fingers a little bit. It seems to be happening more and more with Supercars teams.
Yeah.
Young guys being let go for whatever reason, because they couldn't find them a ride coming up from Super 2 or just switching teams. Alan going, you would have assumed this time last year when his seat with Simona was announced as the third car for Bathurst that he was going to perhaps be Will Davison's replacement in the 17 full time when Will retires, which can't be too far away. I'm a big Will Davison fan, but I think his time is almost up, unfortunately for him, in the sport as a full-time driver. He can certainly do a job as a co-driver in endurance races. So that's interesting. Anton was their big signing to replace McLaughlin after he left to go stateside. Won a good chunk of races, but never really been consistent throughout the season to be in the championship hunt, which obviously was dominated by McLaughlin by SVG for the last couple of years. And now we've got this close fight going forward between Feeney and Chaz Mostert by the looks of things going forward. So that's going to be interesting. But as you say, nothing's locked down at DJR. There is a former champion that absolutely must still be on the market, considering all the things we talked about at the back end of last year and the beginning of this, and that's Brody Kostecki. There's absolutely no way that he'll be with Erebus or whatever that team is called or owned by at the beginning of the season next year. So maybe they passed up Kai Allen to get Brody Kostecki. It's a possibility. I don't know what you think, Kobe, but that's kind of where my thought pattern is going on this. And either there's going to be a double switch with Anton and Will both out, with Brody and another driver coming in.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see what Dick Johnson Racing that decides to do moving forward. But I know the team principal of DJR said, he was very happy for Kai Allen, although, missed out on signing him. But I really believe that there has to be some disappointment in that camp because Kai Allen is, one of those young drivers that you can build your team around for the future. And I think we all assume, that he just sliding easily at the organization and they can basically have their next Scott McLaughlin from that team. But to be fair, Dick Johnson Racing has not been the same since McLaughlin's been in that car, and also the affiliation with Team Penske as well. Once those two factors were out of the equation, really seems that team has fallen off quite a bit. And like I said, Matt, with Anton De Pasquale winning races, this team has been able to win races, and be able to get some good finishes. But like you said, it just hasn't been consistent. And I wonder what direction are they going to go. I think if they want to make up for getting a Kai Allen, you can get that former champion in the car, Brody Kostecki, who is, like you say, almost certainly going to move on to a new organization in 2025. And I think getting Brody Kostecki would be really huge for this organization. And the question is, are they going to change this one driver or both drivers? And if they do decide, say go with Kostecki and someone else, I wonder who would get that second car. I think a lot of us expect a little more out of Antoine here, but unfortunately, the results just haven't been there or what we really expected. And Will Davison, like you said, seemed like he's getting towards the end of his full-time career in Supercars. I thought it would be easy for him to slide to the co-driver role and move up Kai Allen full-time, but obviously Kai Allen had other plans, and here we are today talking about Kai Allen going to a rival Ford team with Penrite Racing on the rise and Dick Johnson Racing. Similarly, they were left at the altar here because I thought Allen and DJR were going to be a perfect marriage in Supercars, but it just wasn't meant to be this time. And I'm glad Kai Allen's finally going to get the chance to move up to Supercars full time, because I thought he was going to be full time this year, but just wasn't in the cards. But a second year of Super 2 competition can't hurt. I think he'll certainly be more prepared for the full-time move to Supercars in 2025 with a whole another year of experience and leading the championship right now in Super 2. He could very well enter the series as a two-time Super 2 champion. Going to be exciting to see what this young driver is able to do once he gets up to the main game.
Just quickly, Josh, sorry, before you move on, sorry. I get what they're saying. Oh, we're disappointed to see him go, and that's the PR spiel. They had the first option to sign him. They had a date. If you've got to a certain date and you've not taken up your option, then I'm sorry, but you've put the bullets in the gun and shot yourself in the foot, haven't you? If he's then decided, oh well, they've not given me anything, I'm probably going to look. Oh look, there's another shiny team over there. They're offering me a nice deal. I'll go and drive for them. You can't be disappointed if you've let someone go like that in the real world. In the PR world, yes. In the real world, perhaps not.
We've seen it so many times this year, haven't we? Across all forms of motorsport.
Oh, last couple of years, for sure.
Yeah, Hamilton and Mercedes, Sainz, and now going to Williams as well over Ferrari. MotoGP side of it, Martin, saying, okay, you're going to... Yeah, in fact, hang on. All of MotoGP's Ducati lineup, they have really... Now, that was something that I was going to go into as well. The one thing coming back from Silverstone on that is that everybody inside Ducati was really angry that they've been on the development program for years and they've all been let go just so that Marc Marquez can have a go. And Marc Marquez at the moment is a bit more like, is he good? Is he not good? So it's sort of like, there's been a lot of criticism over that. But they've all found good homes and it's going to make the racing a lot easier. But yeah, we've seen that a lot, haven't we? You're not going to be signed. Come for us. Come for us. A bit like the most famous one, I'm sure you all agree, when Frank Williams was able to take Senna away from McLaren. That, I think, is always going to be the top one for me, is like, how did he manage to do that? How did he get that away? Because he got fed up, didn't he? Senna at McLaren.
Especially with what we know of Senna's deal in '93, what, $1 million a race or whatever it was. So he wasn't short on, it wasn't a money thing.